All right, I'm here with Mel Dorman, who runs Seller Finance Academy, right? And we're in Living Room Realty's office here in Southeast Portland. My wife's a realtor, so big fan of realtors, and you were running this, 9-year, pretty awesome real estate practice, and it's almost, I don't want to call it a trend because it's this old thing, but like I think I was telling you right before this, I had coffee 2 months ago with a buddy, Darren Stoll. He told me he has done a lot of seller finance, like a lot of his buildings that he's bought are all seller financed, and it's almost like this old thing that's become new again, and you have now created this huge movement. So like, tell us, how did you get into it? What is seller financing? Like, a lot of people I think are really interested in owning real estate, but the mortgages get in the way and all that stuff. So like, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of stumbled into it. Previously I was a social worker for many years, and I'll be the first person to say that I thought money was stupid. I didn't want anything to do with it. Like at one point in my early 20s, like I just left America. I was like, I'm gonna live in a slum in Kolkata, India, and like serve the poorest of the poor. Like that's who I was.
Sure.
Up until my dad got sick. And that was a real reality check for me, because we found out, he had Alzheimer's, and so my family found out that it would cost $7,000 to $15,000 a month to take care of him.
Wow.
And my dad was our breadwinner, so we were pretty devastated by this. And so it flipped a switch for me, and I realized I need to figure out how money works. I want to help my family. And so I sort of stumbled into real estate as a social worker. And most of what I was learning, I didn't love. Like you try to find somebody who's down and out and take advantage of them and try to, whittle the price down, and then you win. But when I found out about seller financing, it completely opened up my eyes.
It's more of a partnership.
Yeah, rather than it being like a transaction, like I'm gonna win on price and that's the only thing we fight over. With seller financing, it's really more of a conversation. Like I like to tell people there's 4 things you negotiate. Like you get to decide the down payment, the interest rate, the length of the term of the loan, and the price. And so I'm happy to give up the price as long as it cash flows, as long as it's working for me. That's a win-win deal, which is what I'm always striving to do and also teach.
Yeah, so let's talk about teaching. You have how many, 270 students or something, and they're, you sometimes have personalized coaching service, but you're like creating kind of a movement across the country of preaching the gospel around seller financing. Yes.
I know.
So you've created a whole business. You're no longer really doing real estate agent stuff. You're just doing that. Yeah, you're all in on mainly coaching, but not necessarily doing a lot of deals for yourself.
Yeah, I'm still just doing like one purchase a year. That's kind of what I've been doing the last 9 years. I have a philosophy of enough, so it's like I don't need to keep buying more and more and more and more. What's more significant to me is teaching somebody what changed my life. It's like I used to be a social worker, making $3,000 a month. Now, I'm making 6 figures, just building these kind of relationships in my community, and I don't have to work anymore. And so now I've just turned all this free time into educating others on how they can get free from just the grind, like the day-to-day.
But you're working your butt off.
Oh, I'm working my butt off right now.
To create a ton of content to teach.
To tell people.
All the facets of it.
Yeah. Like in the last year, I did a coaching program that really taught me how to scale an audience, and I just got really consistent, posting 3 times a day, and I built a following of 1.5 million people. Wow. And so, 270, a very, very small percentage of those people decided to join our coaching program, and now I'm teaching them how to build these just partnerships in their community. And I think right now, especially, it's the first time home buyers median age is 40. And a decade ago, that was 24.
Whoa.
And so we've come a very long way in a very short amount of time in terms of having access to ownership. And the middle class, that is middle class wealth, is real estate. It's not stocks, it's not crypto, it's not any business ownership. It's having a house that you own. And so I really think this is a social justice movement towards providing an access to ownership, access to wealth building, because banks are locking people out.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit, but it's like the American dream is owning a house and building wealth, and you're ultimately creating like an entrepreneur kind of community. And is that the only way in America that we're going to be able to build wealth? Is being usually it's just owning shit, whether it's owning your company or real estate or stocks and bonds. But and so what is your vision for like how to build a movement that will like systemically change things?
Yeah, I'm really inspired by this one Harvard study that talked about only 3.5% of the population has to adopt a new idea for it to become a full movement in our society. And so you think like gay marriage or desegregation or these sort of things, just a small portion had to start believing that before it became a social norm. And so we're at 0.5% right now. 0.5% of all transactions are seller financed.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and so if we could just 7x that by creating awareness. I mean, every real estate forum across America has seller financing as a checkbox, but most realtors have never done a seller finance transaction. And so I really just want to build a movement that puts seller financing in people's homes as quickly as they would say organic coffee or fair trade chocolate. Like it's not that everybody will buy it or do that. It's not right for everybody, but there'll be such a large portion of people that this is truly their only way into housing, into ownership.
That's cool. When we met 2 days ago, I have never met, I know hundreds of founders. I've never met a founder that was going through this stressful of growth and is as calm as you are. Like, with your mental health background, like how is that possible? And do you have any advice for other founders, myself included, to like how to like just, you know, because the mental health is every day. It's like highs, you're on top of the mountain, and then like, oh my gosh, I'm crying, like this is brutal. How do you stay calm?
Yeah, you know, I think doing a lot of international humanitarian work, living in a slum in Kolkata, living on $1 a day, like I have perspective. I've worked in jails, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in really extreme settings. So yeah, it is extreme to be an entrepreneur and you take a lot of risk and you pour your heart into something. But at the end of the day, I also know what it looks like to be in a much worse situation. So perspective really helps. But I also I think the reason why I'm so successful as an entrepreneur is I took what I was teaching my clients as a social worker to make tremendous changes in their life, like move from being homeless and on the streets for a year and having schizophrenia and drug addicted and all this stuff, and moving them into housing and the transformation around that and the skills they needed. I took those same things and I applied them to my own change process, like finding mentors who were modeling the behavior and learning from them, surrounding myself with peer pressure to do this instead of that, like, you know, be an entrepreneur versus clocking in. And I sort of, you know, most recently, I will say it's been one of the hardest summers of my entire life in terms of being an entrepreneur. And I think what I've been really focused on is increasing my capacity for pressure. Like, I think the stories we tell about ourselves in the moment of what we can and cannot handle really shape our decision making and really shape what we believe is possible. And so as often as I can, I'm sort of mentally pruning the garden of my mind and like focusing on like which thoughts serve me and which thoughts actually destroy possibility and destroy hope and put me in a state of helplessness.
I was just thinking like your next book, Mentally Pruning the State of My Mind, or however you said that. It was like, that's the next title. You do have a book out, is it?
Yeah.
Is the title as cool as that?
I think it's cooler. I have a book called Bank on Your Neighbor, and so it's widely available on any podcast like Spotify, Apple. Like it's free education on how to do this process, because I just want people to know that this is a pathway to ownership that they may have never heard of and is absolutely possible. You could be one more conversation away from owning your first or next property.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mel. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks.